Thanks for joining the dYdX Epoch 3 Community Review and AMA. We're going to spend the next 60 minutes having an open discussion with the community. In terms of agenda, I'll spend the first 15 minutes walking through the Epoch 3 review and key milestones that happened over the course of Epoch 3. Then we're excited to host Derek and the Reverie team to discuss an active thread on Commonwealth regarding the dYdX Community Grants Program and their proposal that they put together. And then we'll open it up for about 30 minutes of community questions. If anyone has any questions, just post them in the discussion channel and we can help aggregate them there. Otherwise, you can also raise your hand and we'll bring you up on stage and you can ask your question to the dYdX team. On the call today, you have David, myself from the dYdX Foundation team, as well as several people from the dYdX trading team. We're really excited to answer any questions that the community has. So I'll get started now. We just published the Epoch 3 review on our blog, and I'll walk through some of the highlights that happened over the course of Epoch 3. So the total Epoch volume on the layer 2 protocol reached $89 billion over the course of Epoch 3, with average daily volume remaining steady at around $3 billion. Ending open interest remained flat. There was a correction over the course of Epoch 3, and we saw OI decline but then recover, and TVL continues to increase. We actually surpassed $1 billion in TVL over the course of the Epoch, but it does remain quite volatile. So overall, continuing to see really strong growth on the protocol, which is awesome, and continuing an upward trend in line with the overall market. In terms of dYdX tokens, so about 9,000 unique wallets earned 5.4 million dYdX through trading, liquidity provider, and staking rewards over the course of Epoch 3. To date, about 42,000 unique wallets have previously earned dYdX rewards from the retroactive trading and liquidity mining rewards. And there are about 22,000 unique wallets currently holding both dYdX and or staked dYdX tokens. So continuing to see general increase in adoption and proliferation of unique wallets holding dYdX as we build out the community overall. In terms of specific programs, so in Epoch 3, there were 18 market maker addresses that were eligible for LP rewards. While the majority of rewards were earned by 2 market makers, competition in the pool has increased since the maker volume threshold for eligibility decreased to 1%. Market makers meeting the 1% threshold in Epoch 3 are now eligible to earn rewards in Epoch 4. 15 addresses did more than 1% of maker volume in Epoch 3, and thus can start earning rewards in Epoch 4. In terms of the liquidity staking pool, we saw that continue to grow. There was about 809 million USDC staked from 1,443 stakers over the course of Epoch 3. 3 market makers began testing USDC borrowing from the staking pool, but those efforts were largely on hold after an issue with one of the Start Proxy contracts. And so over the course of Epoch 3, Wintermute submitted a proposal to upgrade the Start Proxy smart contract, and that was ultimately executed on chain following a governance proposal. The foundation is really excited to see the amount of capital staked there and expecting, borrowing from market makers from that pool to increase going forward following the upgrade, which ultimately will help drive liquidity to all markets on dYdX. The major update that I'm sure everyone is familiar with is that the safety module was finally reset to clean state. dYdX staking and earning of dYdX rewards is now active. Following several months of discussions and governance proposals, the safety module smart contract was finally upgraded and relaunched on November 20th, a few days before the end of Epoch 3. By the end of Epoch 3, there was 7 million dYdX staked to the pool from 602 users. Currently, there's about 33 million dYdX currently staked to the pool. And we understand there was a number of investors that staked their locked tokens. Following community feedback, we've asked those investors to refrain from staking to the dYdX safety module. Again, as we've made very public in a lot of our communications, from a technical and legal standpoint, these venture investors have locked tokens, but they are technically able to stake those tokens to the safety module. Again, it's their decision, but there are legal considerations in the event of a sloshing scenario, in the event of a shortfall event. And so we've asked, based on community feedback, for those investors to refrain from staking. And we're hopeful that APRs will continue to remain high and that only earn tokens via the various reward pools that we've set up will be the main use case for circulating dYdX tokens. In terms of the overall supply, there's about 7.19% of the total dYdX supply, which is now considered liquid at the end of Epoch 3. Again, this excludes any unearned retroactive rewards which were transferred to the treasury, and the dYdX that vests to the community treasury on a epoch by epoch basis. So that's just an overall status on some key metrics. And again, we'll be publishing all of these on our blog for you to track. In terms of governance overall, I think Epoch 3, we saw really strong engagement on the forums and a number of on-chain proposals discussed and executed. It was really awesome to see the community vote strongly in favor of passing several DIPs, including the safety module staker reimbursement and compensation DIP, the safety module restoration DIP, and then the upgrade to the start Proxy smart contract. Overall, we have about 800 or so unique addresses that have voted in a governance proposal, and that continues to increase as people become more familiar with the governance cycle more broadly. There's also a number of very active discussion threads on Commonwealth, and we see the community continue to debate a whole range of issues surrounding governance, the exchange, new assets, and then one thread in particular that I'm really excited about, the team is really excited about, and that we think will help drive kind of further decentralization and growth for the protocol, is a proposal that a community member, Reverie, has put together on launching a dYdX grant program to empower contributors in the broader community to actively build projects that benefit everyone overall. We're lucky to have the Reverie team join us today, and they'll provide kind of a broad overview of their idea. In the future, we're excited to continue to host these community AMAs, and would love to bring on additional partners to help explain what they're working on. So stay tuned for future community updates, and if you do want to participate, feel free to DM me directly. Last 2 points I wanted to cover are kind of next steps on Epoch 3. So Epoch 3 ended on November 23rd. As per usual, rewards are claimable 7 days after the end of the epoch. So rewards will be available starting tomorrow on November 30th at around 4 p.m. UTC. Once tokens have been claimed, they can be transferred, they can be staked to the safety module, or delegated to dYdX governance. The last update is around the deposit proxy contract bug that was highlighted publicly late last week. Just wanted to kind of talk about that, and then happy to answer any questions in the AMA. On November 27th, the dYdX team was alerted of a security issue with one of the deployed smart contracts for deposits to the dYdX exchange. If you have set allowance to deposit to the exchange after Wednesday, November 24th, your funds are now held in an escrow account as a precaution for potentially getting hacked. The team has published important recovery information on how to recover those. But as a result of that, some of the new features that were launched this week on the exchange, or last week on the exchange, including gasless deposits and 0x swap integrations, have been deactivated until further notice. So if you did deposit funds to the exchange after Wednesday of last week, please make sure to check out the recovery information and DM the team and read all of the information that has been publicly available through all of our channels. So those are kind of some of the major highlights. Again, we'll be publishing kind of our typical Epoch 3 review AMA later today. And with that, I'd love to bring on Derek from the Reverie team to just provide a brief update on the proposed grants program and provide an overview of kind of what's to come there. Let me bring Derek up on stage. And while I do that, again, if anyone has any questions, please submit them in the discussions channel. We'll be addressing those and then bringing people on stage after Derek gives an overview of the Reverie program. Just bringing him on stage. Derek, I've sent you an invite to speak, or is yours?
Thanks, David. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we can hear.
Perfect. Hey, everyone. So as David said, my name is Derek from Reverie. We posted a temp check on Commonwealth a few weeks ago about a dYdX grants program. Got some helpful feedback. We're working on a longer response to answer some of those questions. We've posted on the forums, responding to a bunch of the comments already, but just working through a more detailed post about how the program will be run, what the application process will look like, any sort of KPIs, taking out the committee, and yeah, that will hopefully be up in the next day or two. And I think for the next 5-10 minutes, Seberg and I will give a quick background on the grants program, talk a bit more about specific things that we're excited about and interested in funding, and yeah, really let you guys ask questions for us during the Q&A as well. So to give some high level on the grants program, the purpose is pretty straightforward. A lot of community members, including many of you on the call, actively contribute and have good ideas on how to help dYdX grow long term and have different thoughts on the kinds of things that the Treasury should be spending money on. And there's tons of ideas in the forums and the posts on Discord. And grants is really a simple way to allow people to pursue these opportunities and work full-time or part-time on different areas that apply to. So it could be research projects, dev work, education, marketing, growth. It could be like a few hours of work for a few thousand, or much longer term, like things that take months. Like I think the scope is quite large, like regardless of your background or your age or your geography. Like grants is, we encourage you guys to actively look into applying and looking at the RFPs and just seeing what you'd be interested in working on. in terms of like longer term, we think grants has like the most important thing is to give community skin in the game, in terms of just getting people more actively engaged in governance, and to eventually have many people aside from Reverie itself, like working on community funded things. So, and Reverie itself, we're an organization that actively works for DAOs. We help with things such as grants, treasury management, growth, and other things. We are involved in a few other communities aside from dYdX, such as Compound, Uniswap, Radical. We're longtime dYdX users, been following it and using it since 2018. And yeah, saw the evolution from margin to perpetual. So yeah, super pumped to actively contribute and work with you guys on this. Now going to turn it over to Seabergs, who is the grants lead, and he will share a bit more about the kinds of things that the program is looking to fund.
Hey guys, can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, so thanks, Derek. I'm Seabergs. Just a quick intro. I've been in this space for like 6-7 years now, working alongside large crypto market makers most of that time, many of which today are some of the largest active users of dYdX. So I'm just super excited to be involved here and moving towards governance and working and helping the dYdX community grow and really push things forward and grow the contributor base and push forward governance growth. So as Derek mentioned, overall, like grants program goals here to really simplify things is to attract 10x contributors that will help grow the product and the community and push forward the existing governance community that we have here in dYdX. And then the added benefit of that is also that it builds kind of this additional growth layer on top of dYdX that helps push the brand forward and helps incentivize token involvement and just kind of, just generally grows the community. And we're super excited to be able to help give back and help incentivize contributions to the underlying product. So we have outlined a few ideas for grants ranging from, external standalone trading tools, like potentially a premium page that shows like different dated ranges for premiums, could be like a CLI trading tool, anything like that, like it's on the technical side. Then we have like governance tools, dashboards, analytics tools. You can do something that's totally non-technical, like a newsletter or some sort of campaign like that. But we're also just super open to the community, giving their ideas and letting people come forward that have skills that we might just not be aware of or that have been using the product for years and that have a niche towards wanting to build something that they think could be done and that maybe could stand alone. And now we're hoping to have this be a platform effectively that gives that opportunity. So if anybody has anything, feel free to hit me up on the Discord, getting going. I think it's any sort of grants ideas or whatever you wanted to look into. In terms of next steps, we'll just be posting an updated post to the one that we really appreciate all people. It's great to see if we get involved in getting ideas. And so we'll be posting an update with additional comments and kind of more structure and guidelines as to how it will actually work and how we plan on moving forward with this. And again, we're just really looking forward to more feedback on that post.
Awesome. Derek Seabergs, thanks for joining and sharing some updates. Again, encourage the community to get involved on Commonwealth, participate in the forums, provide feedback. Again, I think, as Derek mentioned, a grants program is a really great way to align incentives and get more people to build cool things around the community. So encourage everyone here to get involved. This is really a great vehicle to get paid to contribute and grow the overall ecosystem. With that, want to open up kind of the discussion to any questions that the community has. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to just write them on Discord or raise your hand and we'll bring you up on stage. I'll walk through just two questions or one question in the meantime as people get organized. This one's probably best for Everett. Everett, can you provide an update on the status of the deposit proxy contract bug and kind of what are next steps and what happened there?
Yeah, sure. You guys can hear me, right?
Yep.
Cool. So, yeah, the deposit contract vulnerability was a pretty big bummer. So the current next steps are we have a prompt on the trading app that walks our traders through the process to kind of securing their wallet against that vulnerability. It's not extremely complicated, but it is extremely important to unset allowances on all the tokens that you set allowances for, since the new deposit contract was launched last Wednesday around 9 a.m. Pacific time. So basically at this point, we're not disclosing exactly what the vulnerability is, just to protect our users who haven't unset their allowance, whose wallets are technically still vulnerable to that bug. And so if that is you, definitely go to the trading app and basically right after this call or even now and unset your allowances. And if you did have funds in your wallet that were affected by the vulnerability, like David mentioned, they're in an escrow smart contract right now, so they're perfectly safe. But you will need to reclaim those tokens, and the app will walk you through that process as well. So for the time being, basically we're waiting for the word to get out and for the majority of our users to unset allowance on that smart contract. Once we do, we will release a very detailed postmortem about the vulnerability itself, as well as how we went about building the escrow smart contract, how all that stuff worked, as well as, due process in preventing stuff like this in the future. And then we will release, re-release the 0x deposit and gasless deposit feature in a new smart contract that does not obviously have the vulnerability.
Awesome. Thanks, Everett. We have a question from an audience member, Arshia. I'll bring him up on stage. Until before he joins, I'll just address another question around VC staking to the safety module. And so let me just get through that, and then Arshia will answer your question. So the question is, why are VCs allowed to stake to the safety module? Again, what we publicly disclose is that we understand that there's strong community backlash against investors staking their locked tokens in the safety module. The foundation has asked all investors to not stake their locked dYdX tokens and to withdraw any dYdX currently staked. One large whale has told us that they plan to unstake, but it is still out of our control, and it's ultimately their decision. Ultimately, again, all investors are required to comply with the transfer restrictions that are enforced through contractual agreements with the dYdX Foundation. The dYdX Foundation does track wallet addresses to determine whether any transfers have been made in violation of that restriction. But just to be clear, the lockups for investors, prior employees, or consultants of dYdX trading, those agreements allow for investors to use their dYdX to make proposals, delegate votes, or vote on the proposals related to the protocol. Ultimately, those transfer restrictions do enforce, do have a lockup schedule and enforce the transfer restrictions more broadly. From a technical and legal standpoint, investors are allowed to stake their dYdX to the safety module. The real issue, again, as I mentioned earlier, is in the event of a shortfall event and the slashing of dYdX tokens, investors would get slashed like everyone else. At this time, they would be in default against those agreements, and investors would be required to purchase any tokens that were transferred as a result of slashing, so that everyone would be in the same position prior, and investors would still be subject to the transfer restriction and the lockup schedules in those agreements. The foundation has expressed its willingness to bring legal action against investors who do not comply with these requirements more broadly. Ultimately, again, when we think about circulating supply and what is included on the website, really these are tokens that are vested in public hands that can be transferred. We don't think that these locked tokens from investors or from the team fall into that circulating supply category. Ultimately, all of those tokens are subject to contractual agreements with lockups that have been publicly disclosed. Again, the foundation does understand that there was strong community backlash, and we've channeled that and communicated that to relevant investors. Ultimately, again, it is up to them, but just wanted to reiterate that we do really value community feedback, and I think encourage the community to continue to express feedback, and the foundation is here to help support that in any way that we can. So with that, Arshia, the floor is yours. Feel free to ask your question. Sorry, I'm not sure if it was just on my side or if the connection on your side, Arshia, was a little weak. I think your question related to dYdX in the US. Is that right? Yeah, I don't think dYdX has a problem with America per se. Again, maybe Mark, you're best positioned to talk a little bit about the regulatory environment and some of the decisions that the team has made around providing services to US-based people.
Yeah, I mean, this ultimately comes down to the fact that, on dYdX, you're trading perpetuals contracts, and in the US, to offer perpetuals contracts or enter into perpetuals contracts, you need to be what's referred to as an eligible contract participant, or you need to be a registered exchange. Most of our users are not going to be eligible contract participants, and we're not a registered exchange. So under US law, it's simply not permitted. You touched on kind of a decentralization question. I think there's two key aspects of this, one specific to dYdX and one not specific. And I think the first thing specific to dYdX that we never hide and we're very straightforward about is the fact that while everything's non-custodial, the trading engine is hosted centrally. The second part, so that's specific to dYdX. The second part of it is, which is not specific to dYdX, is that all DeFi protocols and development companies of the DeFi protocols are hosting their front ends in a centralized manner. So if people are using a centralized front end, and they're using it from the US, there's a question as to whether the US regulators would have an issue with that or not. And I think what you see from many DeFi protocols, and specifically derivatives protocols, is you see a position taken against US participants using them, and most of that's because of that centralized front end that exists.
which is not something that's very easy to decentralize while maintaining good user experience.
Thanks, Mark. Good question, Narcia. Next question I received.
Thank you.
Thanks. Next question I received by DM is a product-related question. Maybe this is best for Everett. What's the team focused on for the next 3 to 6 months besides full decentralization?
That's a good question. So I would say there's broadly 2 categories that we're focused on the product side. The first one is just in general improving the trading interface. So there's been a lot of great feedback through the community in the Discord or on Twitter or elsewhere of trading features that we've heard you guys would like to see. Amongst the top of that, there's reduce only bracket orders, updates to the trading view chart, allowing you to see stop limit, take profit orders on the chart and being able to edit those orders by dragging the line on the chart, stuff like that. Very similar to what FTX has. So we're definitely compiling that list of all these feature requests that you guys are requesting, and that is a priority for us, improving your guys' trading experience. So I would say that's the first category. That's not just the next 3 to 6 months, right? That's pretty much indefinitely. The second category I would say is kind of more of like the social features. So you guys have heard about the NFTs, and we've got a couple other ones in the works. I won't reveal too much about that, and same with the NFTs. But one thing that I will say is self-service affiliate links. So allowing you guys to generate a referral link and send that out to your followers or whatever, and people that you would like to see on the platform, and also get a little kickback from that. That's something we're working on as well. Additional abilities to share your position, your NFTs in the future, stuff like that. I would say that social aspect is the second category that we're working on, and then maybe a third one that's not really a category, but more of like a underlying thought that we're working on is just more utility for the dYdX token. And so just fostering and supporting that ecosystem is something that we are focused on and thinking of. So yeah, on a high level, I would say that's a pretty good summary.
Awesome. Thanks, Everett. Again, if anyone has any questions, feel free to raise your hand and we'll bring you up on stage. In the meantime, I'm just going to walk through other questions that we've got in via text. I think one question that I got via DM is, what's critical findings dYdX team and Paradigm have found regarding the decentralization research and what the roadmap there looks like? Everett, maybe you can speak a little to this. I'm not sure there's a substantial update here, but it is something that the dYdX trading team is actively focused on.
It's just like you said, David. I would say that we're still, although full steam ahead on the decentralization research, still kind of in the early stages, and so we are exploring, kind of keeping an open mind and exploring a lot of different solutions. But as of right now, there's no concrete updates that would be meaningful, I think, for the community.
Got it. And just to follow up on that, StarkNet just went live in alpha today. Would dYdX consider moving there in the future, or just general views about StarkNet?
Yeah, I would say right now, we are still just exploring lots of different, keeping an open mind and exploring lots of different solutions. And so nothing definitive yet, but I think pretty much everything's on the table at this point, right? So kind of narrow down those options as we go. But again, right now, still open, still early.
Awesome. Thanks, Everett. I guess we had one question around the NFT project. Again, Everett, probably won't disclose too much, but is there anything you would want to highlight there on the NFT side of things?
Yeah, it's it kind of kills me to not disclose too much. I'm extremely excited about the project, but yeah, I think you guys can expect this to launch early next year, basically January or February at the latest. I would say that we'll be launching another pretty large feature alongside the NFTs that would be complementary to them, and so it will be there's going to be a lot of excitement around that. We'll also have teasers for you guys soon-ish, but yeah, I don't want to give too much away. I think you guys will be quite excited to use what we have coming.
Awesome. One question we got from one user was regarding the integration to a layer 2 on ETH to make it cheaper for users to stake, unstake, deposit. Is that on the roadmap? I think Corey or Everett, maybe you can speak a little bit about gasless deposits and the 0x API integration and kind of what that feature enables.
Sorry, I don't quite understand the question. Is that for the governance dashboard or for the trading application?
I think let's start maybe with the trading application, and then I can speak to the governance dashboards.
Gotcha. So for the trading application, I would say that's not currently on the roadmap, integrated with other layer 2s. For us right now, we're going to relaunch those gas deposits, and I think that solves the problem for a lot of our users. The way that gas deposits work, just as a quick overview, if you guys haven't used it already, is we partner with Economy, and they basically allow us to forward transactions through their smart contracts, and they'll pay the gas fees. And so with that, we're able to offer our users truly gasless transactions and gasless deposits. So you don't need the ETH in your wallet to deposit onto dYdX when you have a gasless transaction available. You just need whatever token that you're depositing. And so yeah, with that, like I would probably argue that a lot of the problems with deposits onto dYdX are the gas fees on layer 1, and so we have solved that. I know it is more convenient, especially if you have funds on another layer 2, to have a bridge over directly to Starkware, but I think that's quite a lot of work, and as you guys know, our team is small and we've got a lot of exciting things coming, so I think we'd rather work on those and get those cool features out to you guys rather than a bridge, and especially when we already have gasless deposits.
Awesome. And then I guess with regards to staking and unstaking for the governance-related contracts, again, all of those contracts currently are on Ethereum on layer 1. Right now, there's no plans to upgrade those contracts or bring them to layer 2. We understand that there are blockers for people to participate in voting and for staking, and that's the that's largely a result of just using Ethereum and a decentralized settlement layer to have transactions verified in a trustless manner. I think it's still pretty early to think about upgrading some of the smart contracts for governance, but certainly welcome and encourage the community to actively explore potential solutions to increase participation in staking or participation in governance. One area in particular that the Starkware team has indicated that they're starting to research is a partnership with Snapshot to offer a roll up for snapshot voting. And so I think as various teams explore kind of new solutions to try to increase participation in governance, clearly high gas fees are a barrier to entry. I think everyone's well aware of that, but encourage potential partners and community members to have active discussions and explore kind of alternative options. And hopefully have the community treasury fund some of those projects to again reduce the barrier and friction to people to participate in governance more broadly. So those are the questions that we've received so far. Great questions so far. Again, happy to bring anyone on stage if there's any other questions that anyone from the community has. On the product roadmap, on the foundation side, or any of the comments that the Reverie team made. Here's a great forum to try to drive that. I guess I just got a DM from Bad Frog Ribbit on, have you technically solved or come to consensus on how to decentralize the order books? I think Everett kind of already addressed this or spoke to it a little, but I think there's no kind of material update from the team at this side. Again, the team has communicated that they're focused for the next 18 months on a decentralized version, a fully decentralized version of the protocol, including the order books. The dYdX trading team has expressed that they're actively doing R&D on different options here. Again, once there is a more substantial update, that team will be able to provide something more public, but no material update there as of yet. Other question. Are VCs allowed to stake? Can they also sell tokens with the view to buying them back? Again, all locked tokens, including the investor tokens, are subject to a transfer restriction agreement, which the details of which have been made publicly on our Gitbook. Those investors would not be allowed to sell tokens with the view of buying them back. Again, that would be in direct violation of the agreements that they signed, and the dYdX Foundation has expressed its willingness to pursue legal action in the event that something like that does happen. So again, the transfer restrictions and locked tokens are subject to a 4-year lockup with various kind of milestone dates that have been shared publicly. Those tokens will remain locked, and we will enforce that. Other questions? Everett, when light mode, is that on the roadmap or an option for users on the front end?
It is a much requested feature. I guess we'll go a little bit deeper here, where you guys know we have a mobile app coming up, and so I would say after once we've launched that, I think a light mode should follow shortly after that. We just want the experience and the colors to be consistent across all of our products, and so TLDR, yes, but not anytime soon. Likely after the launch of the mobile app.
Awesome. Seeing some questions around adding new markets to the trading platform. I think just to recap, over the course of Epoch 3, the team continued to add new markets. I think the last market that was launched was the 0x USD perpetual contracts market. In terms of just adding new markets going forward, I think on Commonwealth, we've seen a lot of one-off requests to add new markets, and certainly encourage the community to continue to propose adding new markets to the protocol. I think one forum post in particular that I want to highlight is one that was submitted by Wintermute on Commonwealth, which tries to create kind of a more organized process around adding new markets. Again, from a technical standpoint, to add a new market, there's a few things that are required. One would be, a workable oracle for pricing, and then, I think more importantly, it's the fact that the market has to be added to the smart contract, which at this time requires a governance vote. Given that the team currently operates an order book type model, would also need market makers to provide sufficient liquidity for any new markets that are added. So all of these factors, I think, play into kind of the business case around adding a new market to the protocol. I think I would encourage the community to take a look at the Wintermute proposal around putting together a specialized committee to evaluate new markets and to come up with a prioritization. Ultimately, I think everyone would benefit from listing the markets that are most actively traded. I think right now the protocol currently supports 28 or so markets, but ultimately, it's a question of prioritization, and then at this time, any new markets have to go through governance. So, I think rather than just submitting one-off markets, I think the community should kind of try to gravitate towards coming up with a more robust framework on how to evaluate which markets to add to the smart contract. So that is something that is, I think of critical importance. I think the team is focused on listing as many assets as possible, subject to an ultimate regulatory analysis, but ultimately encourage the community to continue to submit requests for adding new markets, and then putting together a governance vote to help that pass. Everett, we're getting another question on kind of the mobile app. Again, not sure how much you want to share here, but any insights you could share with kind of the broader community at this time?
Just in general about the mobile app?
Yeah, I mean, I think either on timelines, or why is the team focused on building a mobile app, and why does the team think that that's an important feature to add?
Gotcha. So I'll talk about the timelines first, I guess. We're looking to launch the mobile app very shortly after the NFTs next year. So Q1 of next year is going to be very exciting. There's a lot coming. It is taking a little bit longer than expected, but we just want to make sure that we ship you guys a solid experience, no bugs, or not no bugs, but a non-buggy experience. We want the experience to match what we have on desktop. And so we're doing a lot of testing, and we're doing a lot of refinement on the user experience, and it's coming along really nicely. So we'll have teasers and a potential beta program for you guys to opt into and help us test it out very soon, actually. But the development is still in progress on that. We're kind of waist deep in it, and it's going well, but there's just a lot, in the trading interface. And so we just need to test all that, develop it, and make sure that the experience is good for you guys. So yeah, next year, shortly after NFTs, February, March at the latest. Q1 is going to be exciting. For the reason why we're building the mobile app itself, one, we've gotten a lot of requests for it, but two, also a lot of our users in Asia, especially, do mainly use mobile. Very few of them use desktop, and so to kind of help those users out and provide a good experience for them, having a mobile app is critical. And so it's kind of a no-brainer for us that we needed a mobile app. And obviously, mobile comes with a lot of benefits as well. It's faster to load, right? You're not downloading the website every single time. It can be a faster experience. You have push notifications and more native functionality. And so all of that is just going to contribute to a better experience for our users. So, yeah.
Awesome. Next question I received is when lending ? I'm not exactly sure what this refers to, but what is clear is that the dYdX trading team is now exclusively focused on decentralized derivatives. The layer 1 bot margin borrow lend pools were wound down in the last epoch or so. And so the team right now is entirely focused on decentralized derivatives and is not focused on the lending markets more broadly. If this question refers more to lending of the dYdX token, ultimately, I think the community should very actively be thinking about how to increase the utility of the dYdX token more broadly within the DeFi ecosystem. I think we did see a proposal on Commonwealth for the dYdX token to be used on Bancor in the form of staking, which would encourage the community to actively participate in that discussion. So far, I think on Discord, I've seen some users ask about having dYdX used as a form of collateral in other lending protocols like Aave or like Compound. Again, encourage any community members that are kind of interested in pursuing those to get involved with those communities and try to get kind of dYdX to have kind of increased utility within the broader DeFi ecosystem. I think I've addressed most questions. Again, if anyone has any other questions, feel free to raise your hand or DM directly. We have about 5 more minutes left, otherwise we'll wrap up. One more question that I received is there any chance to see Uniswap V3 LP tokens being accepted as collateral? At this time, the current design of the layer 2 perpetual protocol is that there can only be one form of collateral, which at this time is USDC. So, there's probably no potential for other forms of collateral to be added at this time. I think, one of the exciting features that Everett mentioned around the 0x API, will allow users to deposit and withdraw other ERC20 tokens to the protocol in kind of a more streamlined fashion. And so while all perpetual contracts will continue to be settled and margined in USDC, that on and off ramp friction will be greatly reduced once the 0x API integration is live again. And then I guess last question from Bad Frog Ribbit, will Antonio be speaking in future AMAs? It's a good question. Obviously Antonio has been super active on the Discord. As you can imagine, the team is still small and, it's a question of priorities. Antonio is fully committed to building the best products out there, and to a certain extent his time is better used focused on the decentralization research and a lot of the other initiatives that the team is driving. I think Antonio has been very vocal on Twitter, and then has published content with kind of more specific details around a product roadmap. I think you can continue to see him be more active, and certainly his DMs are always open. But we think that these community AMAs are better run by the foundation team as well as the dYdX trading team. And so encourage we're happy to bring him on when needed, but kind of for more of these frequent updates or Epoch reviews, I think the current format that we have works well. But certainly, welcome any feedback on how we could improve this going forward. So with that, we're at the hour mark. I want to thank everyone for joining us for the Epoch 3 review and community AMA. Great questions, everyone. We recorded the AMA and we'll be publishing a transcript on our blog. If any other questions come up, feel free to DM us or post in on Discord, and then stay tuned for claiming your dYdX rewards from Epoch 3, which will be commenced starting tomorrow. Thanks, everyone.